What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of welcoming back one of Tennessee's best prospects in terms of MMA. Was supposed to fight for Valor Fighting Challenge. He is the one and only Dre Miley. Dre, what's going on, my man?
Not much, man. How you doing today?
Good, good. Glad that I'm talking to you. Glad that we can kind of disseminate some of the hyperbole that kind of went into the fight that you were supposed to have, and kind of hear it from your mouth, your account of the events.
Yeah. First of all, I'm glad to be back on here. I love talking to you. It's always a blast when me and you get to talk. Well, let's see. I was supposed to fight for M1 that fell through, and I was supposed to fight last Saturday, but my opponent couldn't make weight. He decided that he was going to walk around at 170 plus pounds, and then decided that he was going to cut. And then the night before weigh-ins, decides to tell everybody he can't make weight. So therefore, we decided to go and cross that plan out because there's no way that I was going to fight somebody like that. Like he would get the chance to rehydrate and get back to his walking weight. Like that's a big jump, you know. So then my coach was like, "No, we're not going to do that." And then so Saturday, went and helped my teammates. They got ready for their fight, so I had to help corner them. And then I had the face off with my new opponent, who is Jeremy Mitchell, who is currently the 135 champ of Valor temporarily. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, so I mean, and it's funny with the that M1, because I actually had somebody out here who trains out of Dan Henderson's camp, out of M1. Team Quest. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
David Lopez. He was actually supposed to. So it ended up. So it was a M1 card at first. Then it became something else,
Yes,
and then the whole card just got called off.
yes, yeah. It just got called off. I think I read that something like a few days ago. I was like, yeah, that's crappy. You let all these people get excited about fighting for this big promotion, and then you switch the name of the promotion, and then now it's not even happening at all. So, and fights is already scarce as it is because not everybody's putting on shows. V3 got bought out by Cage Fury, so they only putting on certain people on their cards and stuff like that. So, and then Valor is like on the other side of Tennessee, so it's really hard for people to do that. So that's pretty shisty of them to do something like that to people, especially when
No,
this is a livelihood.
100%, 100%. And Jesse Velasquez says, "Damn, that sucks." Right before the fight, and hell yeah, hashtag and new.
That's right. Yeah,
There it is.
that's right.
Yep.
No,
So I
it's
mean, when did I guess how soon after that M1 slash whatever it ended up being called? And this is a high kind of profile fight. It was going to be on UFC Fight Pass, right? So
mm-hmm.
you know, and anybody that has UFC Fight Pass, obviously, when something comes on, one of the other promotion comes on or whatever, you get that notification on your phone, on your tablet, on your whatever. So that's you're basically breaking out on and piggybacking on literally everyone that has the UFC Fight Pass app and service, right? So that was a big opportunity for not just you but everyone on the card, so you get new eyes on what you guys are already doing.
Yeah, that does suck though, because every fighter at this level where I'm at right now is they're hoping for Dana White or Scott Coker or whoever else is like watching, like, hey, I want this dude. Hey, we need to sign this guy because that's what you ultimately want. You want to be testing yourself and pushing yourself to fight the best of the best. You want to fight the people that you see on TV and be like, man, I would love to mix it up with that dude. That's what you really ultimately want. I mean, if you're in this sport just to be like that, yeah, you're lying to yourself because there's not a person that's like, oh, well, I just want to do it just because. Like, no, you have a goal. Everybody has a goal towards the end of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And BJ Darden says, "Damn, wow, that's crazy." It's crazy. And him being a professional wrestler, he's kind of seen it come and go, but you
Hmm.
don't think that would, that stuff will happen in MMA, or boxing, but it has. It's few and far between, but I mean, it has, right? And
Yeah,
Jesse says exactly, to beat the best, to be the best, you got to beat the best, right? So,
absolutely.
absolutely. So now, you know, how soon after that whole card falls out does Valor kind of contact you and you're
Well,
like, hey, we got this, and it's a title fight.
well, see, I was supposed to fight Sweeney because it was supposed to be real like a number one contender fight. So whoever won out, me and him was automatically gonna get the shot. So I told my coach, like, as soon as that one show fell out, he's like, asked me, hey, do you want to keep trying with them? What do you want to do? I was like, no, I want to fight for Valor because their show's happening every month, and then they can't get their stuff together to even put on a show. So that was like a month or two, and then next thing you know, boom, October 3rd, you're fighting. Cool, fighting this person, getting all hyped up for it, start dialing in on the training and well, I'm never really dialed in. I never stopped doing fight camp. So I've been in fight camp this whole time. But like fine tuning my eating and stuff like that, make sure I'm mentally there all the time. Stuff like that. Just make sure that everything's in sync with everything. And then whenever he pulled that, oh, I can't make weight kind of stuff, which irritated me because you're a professional. You've had nine or 10 fights as a professional. You know what your body does. You know how your body reacts to it. You know how to feed your body. You know how to do things. There's no excuse on the planet for you to miss weight. No excuse. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of echo, BJ says, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And everyone wants to be the franchise, and it sucks when shady shit happens.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, the, you know, that's crazy because especially now, right? I mean, obviously it's hard to kind of make weight, that's kind of a highly debated topic among most MMA circles, is like, the weight cutting issue. It's kind of weird, but again, once you sign your name on the dotted line, and you've done it, I mean, in this particular instance, your opponent, or supposed to be opponent, has done this 9 times, right? And how many countless times as an amateur? So you kind of know the name of the game. But especially now, where it's like COVID and people have tacked on those extra, maybe unwanted pounds, and
Yeah.
but you still made weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still make weight because our coach is heavy on that. It's like no matter what happens, we're professionals. We make weight. We come to fight. That's exactly what it is. We're respectful. We make weight. We do our job. Now, if the other person doesn't do his job, that's on them. But that's what it was. I was hot after that because I woke up Friday morning because I spent all day Thursday cutting weight. I wasn't too drained, but weight cut always affects you no matter how good a shape you are in. So I made weight, woke up. I come wake up, my phone was blown up. I had my coach text me, and then I had another teammate of mine. He was calling and texting me, and then my opponent messaged me, and I was like, okay, something weird didn't happen. And like next thing I know, fight's off. I'm like, oh crap! Like I just woke up on weight. I was hot. I went through 17 different emotions. I was all over the place, all over the place. So
Yeah, it was like what is that movie? Where they have the different emotions of a person or whatever. I
it's
forgot. It's like a Disney.
yeah, the emoji or something like that. I think that's what it is. Or
Yeah,
Inside Out. Inside Out. I think is what
Inside
it is.
Out. That's it. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
literally, that was literally playing out. And especially, you know, cutting weight, right? I mean, we saw it. I think it was if you checked out the Fight Island Uncovered, kind of documentary on ESPN Plus, you know, there was the guy that Paul Felder was kind of for Jared Gordon, right? Jared Flash Gordon, right? And he had a litany of things. His girl had a miscarriage. His coach tested positive for COVID. like there was just like a litany of things, and he's cutting weight. And Paul Felder stepped up. He was doing the commentary, but he stepped up to kind of corner his dude. And even Paul Felder was around somebody who Din Thomas, right? Who was
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a whole kind of lemony snicket, series of unfortunate events and everything. And essentially, you know, here Paul Felder is stepping out to kind of coach him where the other coaches fell out and everything like that. And Jared Horton is still cutting weight and giving Paul Felder the business, like talking all kinds of trash. And I'm all like,
Yeah.
dude, you should be thankful. But again, emotions can run high and patience can wear thin when you're cutting weight. So to find out this news, right? To find out this news that it's off, like literally the day of, and you're on weight, like what in the hell?
Yeah. He was trying to tell me, he's like, oh, well, we could fight at 45. And my coach was like, no, that's dumb. It's like, I told him, I was like, dude, I'm not going to fight you at a weight class. You didn't agree to the original weight class. So why would I come to your terms? You can't come to the agreed terms. And like, he went on and called me unprofessional and that I'm not a real fighter and all kinds of crazy stuff. I was like, but I made weight though. But I made weight. And he was like, you're scared of me. You have no skill. Your coaches don't believe in you and all this and all that. I was like, well, okay. All right, dude. I'm done with this conversation. And then I blocked him on Instagram. And then he found me on Facebook. And then he started doing it again. And then the worst thing about Facebook is more people on my Facebook are very vocal than they are on Instagram. So he happened to say something and everybody let him have it. Like there's still comments on that post going up, and that's a good almost a week done. Still letting him have it, still reaming him about it. And the funny thing is, I had a buddy of mine who fought at 45. I mean, I think he started at 180. He had to cut like 30 something pounds to make this fight in like 2 weeks. He made weight and turned around and won. I was like, so you have no excuse. So I was like, you just fishing for excuses at this point. So I was like, I'm done with you.
Yeah, 100%. And Jesse says, that's the weakest excuse ever for a fighter. I can't make weight. Come on, go
Yeah,
up. Yeah, go up if you can't make it. But I mean, if you want to do that, and change the terms of agreement, you don't wait until the day of. How long did he know that he wasn't going to be on weight, right? And again,
yeah,
10 pounds, right? That's if you're a pound or two off, or there's as an amateur, some amateur kind of organizations, you get a 5 pound weight, allotment, over or under, right, of the agreed upon weight, right? But
yeah.
10, that not even amateurs will allow that.
Mm-mm. No, in Tennessee, I think you're only allowed like 4 or 5. You have to be within the weight class itself. So I was like, damn, you could at least lose like 4 and you could be 140, but you better not rehydrate. I was like, that's on you. Like, and I just hearing him talk, I was like, yeah, you have no honor about you at all. You're very disrespectful. And then coming from the team that you come from, that even makes them look bad because he trains with Stephen Thompson like regularly. Like Stephen Thompson is how Vince is at the gym with me. Like they're there all the time. So I was like, you mean tell me you can't make weight, but you got a top 5, welterweight in your camp not telling you, hey, this is too much weight. Hey, this is this. You don't have a nutritionist. You don't have this. It's like, man, come on. You just no. You didn't want to fight. That's what it was.
Yeah, and and it's funny because the promotion is called Valor Fighting, right? Challenge, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's all about valor. If you look it up in the dictionary, and especially there's honor, valor. Those things are kind of paramount when you want to be a, I guess, credible, complete person, and present yourself that way, right? And again, like you said, you're training with OSP, right? O Vincent Peru. He's training with Wonder Boy Thompson, right? And that's valor to kind of have that gym. I know there's gyms around that. I mean, people can fight, and train under that gym, but that head coach won't literally bring them into the circle and have them have their name attached to
Mm-hmm.
them until they feel ready. And sometimes that's even 3 or 4 fights into their career, amateur,
Mm-hmm.
and even one or two into their pro, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's again, it's something that is virtuous, and it's valor. And for him, yeah, I just think it's just weird and apropos that again for Valor Fighting Challenge,
Kind
he,
of. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. It is. It totally is. It's just like I said. There was no honor in that at all. It's just like, dude, you really screwed yourself because like if me and him had fought and we had a banging fight, that's all eyes on that fight right there. Because we both lost to Cody, and that would be like, okay, these dudes are legit. Like Cody actually fought against some really good people. One of us wins. Next thing you know, you could get that call up. So now you don't put yourself at the back of the waiting list because you didn't want to make weight. So now you got like, oh crap, I got to start over. But you have an asterisk next to your name from now until whenever. Like, hey, this dude can't make weight, or this dude loves to eat too much. So that's the way you got to think about it whenever you're 10 fights in as a circuit pro fighter.
yeah, and that's the thing about it. Right now, more so than anybody, I know just on the SoCal scene, and I mean it's happened everywhere, right? Anybody that was waiting for the call, in the last year or two, that were like, hey, Dana White, and tagging, Dana White, Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard, putting it on Twitter, blah blah blah. Everybody that I know of, this state and otherwise, you're getting the call more so often because there are so few fights, and when fights fall off, you need somebody in. I've seen more people that were waiting on that cusp on the bubble get fights to LFA, Invicta,
Mm-hmm.
Bellator, UFC. Those calls are happening more so now than they ever would, and I don't know if not for COVID, I don't think it would happen as fast as they have the last 3 or 4 months since
Yeah.
May when they started doing it.
Yep. I agree. I think the COVID is a bad thing, but at the same thing, it's a blessing to people because now it's making. We just had there was just an ESPN article that was just released today, and it was talking about how like certain regional shows are getting more of a publicity because of they're actually putting on shows and like they're doing all this, and UFC's watching them, Bellator's watching them. So you got to think anytime there's a show that's locally or regionally, and they're like, hey, we want you to fight, do that because that's what's going to put you to that next level. Right now, all eyes are on like the Valors, the Cage Furies, the who else is it? AFCs, the
Yeah.
LFAs, the PF, all those little bitty cars. It's it's on there. Like you're getting your views, whether you realize it or not, whether you're on Fight Pass or not. Somebody, some talent scout is looking at it and be like, okay, this promotion is legit. This people have people fight. These promoters know what they're doing. So I mean, it's you got to put yourself in. You got to be opportunistic in this, especially during this day and age. Because they're not signing nobody else. They're not gonna sign nobody else. If they have to know if you can't make weight or, oh well, this person has a layoff. No, they want you right when you're ready.
No, 100%, 100%. And just to kind of bring you up, that was a great series. For sure. Fighting already gets you stressed and emotional, and weight cut puts an extra strain on it. Shit makes you go crazy. Shit makes you go angry. And he sounds weak sauce. 5 or 10 pounds makes a big difference, especially at a high level. He might have been 10 pounds over, but he would have rehydrated to much bigger, and that is the issue, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
you can gain another 5-10 pounds after I mean, I've seen guys and gals right after weight cut and whatever, they do the electrolytes and then they shoot up like 2 pounds
Mm-hmm.
after to sort of rehydrate it, because your body is so. And a couple of people have kind of mentioned it on here where, like, when people are like, you look so great in the weigh-in photos, like, and they're like, no, I was close to death, right? Like,
Yes.
don't get it twisted. Like, that is me close to death. If you saw the picture, but if you saw me walk up, I was leaning on my coach, and like, that's it. The fiber of my
Mm-hmm.
being try to walk up those stairs to those scales and stuff like that. And that's one thing that most people don't see. And it makes a cool Instagram photo for sure,
Yeah. Well,
but
yeah.
there's more.
Yeah, yeah, it makes you look cool because you're all like sunken in and everything's like very prominent. So like you look like you just are complete shredded, but it's really not you. Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head on that one.
Yep, 100%. Now, I mean, one big part of this was like, I mean, the work that you put in, right? Because I mean, most people from the outside looking in, right, they don't take into account when a fight gets pulled off, it's just like, whatever, right? But I mean, you were staying in consistent fight games. I mean, theoretically, you were in two at the same time. One dropped out, and then you just kept it consistent, and then something else happened, right? But I mean, there's obviously gym fees that you're doing. Obviously that's more strain that you're putting on your body because again, you're trying to continue to get closer and closer to fight weight for an opportunity to happen. You know, um, Obviously that strain on your personal life, your professional life. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's very crazy. Like that's the hardest part about people because, I got a family that I like to spend time with, but I mean, I can only do that if I do my job first. I go in there in long hours, put myself through the ringer, toughening it out, gutting it out, and then always trying to find a way to better myself. People don't realize that when you're training, you put yourself through a lot. I mean, do I feel like I overtrained for that? No, I don't. I just feel like I've hit a new level when it comes time to training because now I can use my brain more than I used to, rather than be like, oh, well, let's just do this. It's like, no, what can I do? Like, what do I mess up at? How can I make myself better? How can I make the team better and stuff like that? So it's hard. It really is, especially if you're then the problem is when people go in fight camp, they're just in fight camp. They forget to enjoy the whole aspect of it. Like the training sucks, the long hours sucks, the depletion of your body, the fact that you gotta, eat these little meals that are not really good, but that what you need, and then spending time away from your family. You may be dog tired and your kids be like, hey, let's go jump on the trampoline or let's go do something. You're like, no, I'm too tired. I really can't do nothing. So that's probably the biggest sacrifice that people don't realize.
No, I couldn't have put it better myself. And again, there's so much thing, so much. Most people just look at the fight, all right, and they're like, "Oh, that's taxing." I understand. You're getting punched, kicked, coming out of transitions, and grappling, and you know submission attempts and all that jazz. But I mean, you're taxing your body all the way through your fight camp. Obviously, different instances of such, but still, I mean, that's taxing on a family life. That's taxing on any semblance of normal, quote unquote, normal life that you were leading before.
Yes, 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 yes. That's I can't say it even better. I really can't. It's just frustrating. But then it pays off. There's a blessing in disguise every time. So I guess if he had never, I mean, no matter if we fought, I would have beat him anyways. But like, if he hadn't dropped out, I would not be, fighting for the belt so soon. You know what I'm saying? It'd probably been like the next card, or they'd probably be like, let's take some time off and then let's heal some injuries and let's look at this. It's like, no, it's like you did me a service, and give me somebody that I generally want to be to get to where I need to be. So for that part, I thank him for it. So
Yeah, no, it is, and that's the thing. And you kind of hit on it earlier, but you know, about people getting opportunities during this time, and it is a horrible time for everyone. That's like not get it twisted. People are getting sick, they're dying, people are losing jobs. But theoretically, something has to give. There has to be a canary in the coal mine, so to speak, for us to get to the next point, whether that's getting healthy or whether that's, figuring out about this kind of unknown terror that's happening, right in front of us or we can't even see,
yeah,
something has to give, right? And, it takes, people to kind of figure it out. When you go back to like, Cro-Magnon times and everything like that, and everybody's hunkered down in the cave. Well, there has to be somebody to kind of venture off into the cave and see what the hell else is out there in the atmosphere. And that's essentially what you're doing. And in situations before, when you look at here in the U.S., like the Great Depression, there's a lot of things that have happened through the course of man in every country, city, state, what have you, right? But there are people that end up after it because they innovate a way. If there's a new type of clothing to wear to protect you from whatever, or people are getting stuff delivered to their houses, so any delivery service, those are jumping, right? So that's it in terms of like figuring out the next step, and people actually having an advantage during this kind of weird and scary time is the fact that some people are going to figure things out for the betterment of all of us. And we should kind of kind of not alms bearer, but I mean, damn, thank you for your sacrifice for figuring it out, because I don't know if I could have.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people don't want to do that. We live in a day and age where people are selfish, and it's just how it goes. No one knows how to say thank you. No one knows how to use their manners anymore. So it's one of the world's just going down, and it's really weird to watch, and it's very scary to raise kids in this day and age.
Yeah, and it's weird because before it'd be like, oh, when we were coming up, like you might hear one bad story in the news, like or three per day. And it's funny. Joe Rogan, he said it long ago, and it's something that when you think about it, right? If it's a 30-minute news cycle, you might have one national story that they spend 10 minutes on, two local stories, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes on weather, and then you get sports, right?
Yep.
So theoretically, out of whatever town you live in, there's only two bad things really happening in your town, and then one in terms of the country, right? So I mean, here in LA, there's like millions of people, right? And again,
Mm-hmm.
the news are playing that same two or three stories on repeat, and it's just like, yeah, it kind of sucks because you get the lights and cameras and everything, but when you think about it, out of millions of people, and we got three screw ups, it's
Mm-hmm.
not a bad deal.
Yeah. It's the media. That's all it is. They can turn it. They can twist it. They can do whatever they want to with it because that is power. The media is power.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately, and that's why I kind of I'm like, I'm a personality. I'm not like Luke Thomas even will say like, hey, a journalist kind of has to go and dig deep into things and whatever. You can't really do that here in combat sports, because if you piss one person off, not only do you piss off that person, now they're going to go tell their gym, and everybody in their gym don't want to talk to you, and they're going to tell their manager, everybody in the manager's roster that you didn't even know was managed by that person don't want
Yep.
to talk to you. So he was like, we're not journalists anymore. We're personalities. But if Brendan Schaub, having played NCAA ball, I think a season in NFL and was in the UFC, is making more money in being a personality than he has in any other endeavor in his professional life, then damn it, me, personality is good enough for me.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's what it is. It's personalities, man. You be somebody that you're not. That's all it is. This is the time of fakeness. Let's be who we're not. Now, when you be the person that you're supposed to be, then that's when people won't call you fake. Then sometimes you can read through people and be like, oh, well, that person's really not like that. So, like, example, whenever we did our face off Saturday, people were like, oh, wait a minute, this is not who he really wants to be. But people who know me personally, like, no, that's really how Dre wants to be. It's like, that's really how he is. He's just afraid of people looking at him different. Like, I had one of my teammates who I mentor. He was like, "That's who you are." Like, he's like, I really feel like that's the person that you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be that outspoken, that brash person to like, I'm gonna tell you what's about to happen and you got nothing to do about it. So when, my new opponent is like, oh well, he's a bully and all this and all that, it's like, no, I'm just who I am and I'm not trying to hide it anymore because I used to be that, like, that nice, respectful fighter. I'm still respectful to people whenever you deserve it, but like, I'm gonna be nice and respectful to you as long as you give it first. I'm not gonna be like, oh, let's just be friends. Let's fight. Let's play. Like, no, this is a fight. I'm supposed to take your head off. You're supposed to take my head off. Now, whatever I gotta do to do it, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to tell you that I'm going to do it. So that way, there's no surprises. Because you got those some dudes who touch gloves right before they fight, and then they throw a sneak punch. Like, no, that's not me. I'm going to punch you. Like, I'll touch your gloves and then I'll back up. That's my respect. That's the last bit of respect I give you. So,
No, 100%. Which and Jesse says too much trying to look good instead of being good. And it's weird because there's the SoundCloud rapper and the Instagram rapper, and it's cool and whatever. But that's kind of permeated into fights, right? Which
mm-hmm.
and you might throw a cool kick and whatever. And I've seen it, especially during the amateur, sometimes pro, right, circuits where like, oh, this dude's kicking the bag like 1,000 times and whatever, right? And then comes a fight, and it's like he gets his head taken off because I mean, there's a lot of mitigating factors, but again, you just see that 30-second sped up clip of him kicking the bag, 1,000 times and everything, and it looks fucking cool. But when it comes down to fight, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, well, they say everybody wants to be a fighter till they want to fight or till it becomes time to fight. And Mike Tyson said everybody got a plan till everybody gets punched in the face. That's what it is. That is true. Say, listen, you got one, two choices. You can look pretty or you can fight. And a lot of people do that because that's what most fans want to see. They want to see you hit the bag a lot, hit you, do these spinning kicks and all this other stuff. But then other people are like, could you do that realistically? Could you do that in fight? No. Okay, then why are you throwing it? Oh, because it looks cool. No, you're a fighter. Stop doing stupid shit. Stop doing spinning shit. Do stuff that you would do in a fight. So.
No, 100%, 100%. Now, I mean, obviously, one of the things that did look cool, regardless of all the acrimony, was the fact that fucking pose, face off, that shit looked cool as fuck, man. But obviously, I mean, what turned out, I mean, like, how did that whole thing kind of happen, and then how quickly did it fall out?
Well, like I said, we were supposed to fight before I signed the M1 fight. Me and him was actually supposed to fight beginning. So I signed the M1 fight. And then I hear word that because he had made a post, right? He beat my teammate. I don't get too sour for, you beating my teammate. Like, I'm always going to be there for my team. Like, don't get me wrong. But like, it's the stuff that he said after the fight. It's like, hey, I'm the best bantamweight unsigned. I'm the best in the world. It's like, dude, you've had 3 fights. You got lucky. You know, you got one good fight and cool. You got against somebody that's really good. But now you're at the top, which means that you have no easy fights no more. Like, I've seen his fights. I was like, you do the same thing as you done as an amateur. And so he tagged Scott Coker and all those guys like, hey, I want to fight James Gallagher. And James Gallagher has like over almost 20 fights. And he's no slouch at all. Like, he will embarrass you to the point where be like, and it doesn't raise his stock. It raises Jeremy's more than anything. To be like, oh, well, you in there against a bet and then you hung in there. It's like, no, that's bullshit. Earn your stripes, just like everybody else is. So me being the person that I am, I was like, hold on. You ain't getting off that easy. I said, you still got to go through me. So, and all honestly, I was supposed to fight for the belt first. So, but then one fight happened. So then that happened. And my boy James got that opportunity. So, and then he was like, oh, well, you ran from me. You were supposed to do this. And then he was like, but at first he was like, I got hurt. Me and you were supposed to fight. And you ran off and went to M1. I was like, so you're telling me I ran from you because I went to a bigger promotion? Because a bigger promotion wanted me? He's like, you didn't want to fight me and all this and all that. I was like, dude, that's like, I don't run from nobody. It's like, I ain't never ran from a fight. I'm never ran from a fight. And so he just kept going back and forth with it. We was just going back and forth saying, oh, well, I'm going to beat you in January. I'm going to make an example out of it. Like, it's just a bunch of trash talk. So whatever video everybody watching, like him being like, oh, well, Dre, so he's a super solid guy, very respectful, which is a bunch of bullshit. Because I have screenshots, I have messages and shit, me and him going back and forth about it. So if he won't play with me like that, I'll expose his ass. So I mean, and then I showed my teammate James because he was super nice to him. James was James was a super respectful dude. He's probably my best friend. And he was like, man, the dude's super respectful. He's nice. All this. I'm like, no, fuck that guy. And he was like, whoa, because I normally don't talk about people like that. I was like, no, fuck that guy. And he was like, what do you mean? And I showed him the message. He was like, okay, yeah, fuck that guy. Because he was like, I'm better. He's like pretty much saying he's better than me and all this. So throughout all of it, the build up over it, and he found out I was fighting Sweeney, and he was like telling me that, oh, if you win, me and you gonna fight each other. He said, so I'm gonna be sitting front row seats. I said, so you better win, and all, like, trying to gas it up. So when it came time for the fight falling out, and then I got told that, hey, you're the new number one contender, you're fighting for the belt, we want you guys to do a face off. I was like, cool, because then they was like, we don't know if he's going to be there or not. And I was like, no, he's gonna be there. I'll message him. So I messaged him, told him he better be there. And then we get there. I get messages of people like, yeah, he showed up. We're at the fights and stuff, and you know, I'm supposed to be there on pretty much like a date night and coaching night. Me and my girlfriend were supposed to go on dates sometimes. That's what couples do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting there, we're talking about it, and we're all hanging out. And they was like, all right, we need Dre and Jeremy the cage sides. We do his face off. I get there and I start emptying things out my pocket. So I'm like, at that point, I'm in fight mode. Like, I'm really like, oh, hell yeah, I get to get close to this dude. So I empty out my pockets. I start fidgeting. I start moving around. Like, I feel adrenaline coming out, but it's not like a nervous adrenaline. It's like, okay, I'm ready to go now. So we get in there. I get right in his face. I don't give him a chance to do anything. It's like, I get right in your face and let you know I'm not scared of you. I'm not this dude to be like, let's be friends. Let's be respectful. Like, no, dude, you talked all that shit and I'm right here in front of your face. Now, what are you going to do about it? And so I told him come January, so I'm going to beat his ass. I'm going to take his belt. I pulled a Conor McGregor, tried to take his belt away from him. He wasn't having it. So he like, there's pictures my friend Sam, she does the pictures for Valor, Sam Cochran. So she does the pictures. She caught all those images in there, and that was not staged, at least on my end. So it's real beef with me and him. It's like, and for him to prior to be like, hey, let's get all the eyes on this fight because this is a big fight for us, yada yada yada. He trying to do the marketing thing. Don't tell me to do the marketing thing. Don't tell me to do this because the only way I know how to do it is I talk trash. I'm be me, and I'm gonna make memes about you. I make memes about you. That's just it. I'm just trying to sell a fight. My true feelings is right there in front of everybody. Valor and Boxcast, they seen it. I told them loyal. I said, I really don't like this dude. So my feelings, I've never hid my feelings from anybody. Like, yeah, I really don't like you. So this is where we're at. And so it just keeps transpiring. And he's like, I'm better than you. I've been better than you. It's like, you've had 3 pro fights. I've had 10. And he's like, well, it took me 3 fights to get to where you're at. You got there because I took up another opportunity to pursue my career further. I was like, so if you want to be technical about it, you would not be champ if me and you had fought beforehand. Like, you would be at the back of the line hoping to get another chance once I leave the organization.
Yeah, and that's so weird, that statement. Like, I'm the best, right? Because obviously there's you, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's guys like Tyrion Ware, who has like he's 17-11 coming off of the UFC stints and King of the Cage. He's out there, right? There's people training in Spain. You see all of these Russian kind of dudes, Dagestanis that are 135. Like, to say you're the best in the world, and then again, Gallagher, he gets a lot of flack for being, kind of highly influenced by Conor McGregor, right? But he is no slouch, not one
Mm-mm.
iota, And to me, I just think that's just such a weird. I mean, I get confidence and everything, but like there's confidence and there's a bold faced lie, and it's like, and also like how big is your kind of like MMA circle? You might be the best in your region, you might be the best in your gym at that weight class or whatever. But then again, you see people who, win like jujitsu competitions and everything like that, and because there's nobody else that signed up with that that division, So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
like, and
Yeah.
they're like, and again, it looks cool on Instagram. The pedestal, you got a medal or belt or whatever. You take that back to coach, but literally, you just paid the $200 and nobody else did.
Yeah. It's just how it is. It was like you come from. It's oh, I'm the best. I've did this. I'm like I've seen the people you lost to. And my amateur days, I would have ran through those as amateurs, And then he was like, "Oh, every time you fight somebody good, you lose." Okay, let's look at this way. Last two people I lost to went to the UFC. Cody Durden went straight to the UFC. Chris Ocon, he fought on the Contender Series. That's
Mm-hmm.
technically UFC. And then the last person, Nathan Lindsay, which I should have won because I made him puke on the mat, which should have been, automatic win. He was still pretty good. So I mean, it's not like I'm losing to bums. I mean, but I look at his records and stuff. I seen people that he fought. I was like, you should have never lost to that person. But then
Mm-hmm.
like to sit there and be like, oh well, I'm the best at, I'm the best. It's like no, you get lucky. It's like exactly what it is. People, you've been fighting the same game that you've always been fighting. There's no evolution about you. There's nothing to be like, oh, shit. When I look at you and be like, oh yeah, this dude's gonna be awesome. Like no, I don't see anything to be like, damn, this dude might actually be pretty good. No, I don't see nothing. You know, I get goosebumps and I get my adrenaline pumping because I know how much of an ass whooping is coming. See, like with Cody, I knew that I was going to fight for. I knew it was going to be a fight. I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be because Cody comes from a solid gym. He fight
Mm-hmm.
and and he's really good. As much as it pains me and it hurts my feelings to say that, he's good. He's really that good, and he believes in himself. With Jeremy, I believe it's false. It's got to be false. No one bluffs themselves up. He's got YouTube pages and he's always trying to give people nutritional advice and shit like that. You got to do whatever you got to do to make yourself look legitimate. This is exactly what you got to do. So for me to be like, oh, well, I'm going to videotape myself sparring and I'm going to put it on YouTube. You're trying to do whatever you can to do to make yourself look legit because you don't believe it. And the people and the funny thing is, he's from Virginia. And I did most of my amateur career in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So he forgets that because most people that he ran into or he trained with have trained or not trained, they have seen me fight. They've seen me like straight go dog mode and just don't care about fighting. And I've still had people ask me, hey man, when you come back to Virginia to fight? These people don't know me at all. I've had people be like, hey, you come back to Virginia, man. This is awesome to see you fight. It's like you forget I'm used to fighting Virginians. Like this is not a problem with me. You know what I'm saying? So it's just the ego for him is really high. And if I look disrespectful to him, I mean, it is what it is. People are going to be like, oh, well, you did this, you got in your face, that's outside your character. You don't know my character. Saturday was my character. That's exactly who I wanted to be. I put it in my head, this is who I'm going to be from now on. Because used to, I'd be too respectful, and then come to the fight, I'd be scaling myself back, like, man, I really don't want to hurt this dude. So he can thank Cody for this, he can thank John for this, and be like, damn, you should have never made Dre change his person. So
No, that makes sense. That makes absolute sense. But the I almost feel like Goldberg when I ask, right? Well, who's next? Obviously, this kind of this is an unfortunate situation, especially with all the time and effort that you put into this. But I mean, what's what's next?
when I beat Jeremy, see, when I beat Jeremy, I get the belt. Hopefully, I get that call up. You know, I saw that Cody got called. He got his fight booked for December 5th against Jimmy Flick.
Right.
So I saw that, but then I also saw another person that fought that same night that Cody did, and Nathan Manis. I saw him fight. So I'm like, it's going to be one of them two, or it's going to be somebody new. Or I could defend my belt again. It doesn't really matter to me. It's either I defend my belt or I get that call up. So in a perfect world, I would love to fight Cody again, and I would love to fight Nathan Manis or Jimmy Flick or somebody like that. So that's who my perfect scenario would be. I beat Jeremy and get the belt. You get a call up, go to UFC. Cool. You got this first fight. This is blah blah blah. Cool. Let's fight him. Beat him up. Keep going through the whole thing. In perfect scenario, that's what I would do. Now, realistically, with win the belt, maybe defend it once or twice, and then get the call up. But you never know. It's just MMA. Inside the cage or outside the cage, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So I mean, when is that? When is that fight?
January 2nd. It might be a Saturday. I'm not sure. I know it's the first weekend of January.
That's again. So it's bittersweet because you've got a title fight, right? But then you got to wait till January, which doesn't seem too long from now, right? We are in October, right? Early
Mm-hmm.
October, so we got November, December, But take into account you have been in fight camp for the last like 3 months already.
Yep.
So this is like half of the year you've been in fight camp.
Mm-hmm. Which makes it worse because now I know how to regulate myself. I'm learning how to do things differently. I'm learning how to, I won't say learn how to fight, but because, that's what you do, but learn how to be more conscientious about fighting. It's like, most people who fight, they just like, I got to fight. I got to win every position. And so, like, our coach is doing a really, really great job about reframing how we go about solving problems. So that's what this is about. So I know I can be intense. I know I can be hard, but can I be a brain surgeon while fighting against a ditch digger? That's the main thing right now.
No, that makes sense. And again, that's something that comes with age and not maturity in the sport, right? Where you know what you can and can't do. We've seen world champions that don't do any hard sparring, because like they don't want to have their body accrue damage that is unjust. If you're going to take damage, you might as well do it in the fight, and it's let them courageously, or they'll only spar with particular people because they know that, hey, maybe rolling with this white belt, who's kind of wild, willy nilly, whatever. If I catch a knee to the face,
That's
you
it.
know, that's it.
Mm-hmm. That's it. You got to train smart. If you want longevity in this sport, you have to train smart. You got to pick your partners, and even if you do roll with somebody that is like potentially dangerous, you got to control yourself. Like, that this person's a spaz, so therefore it's going to happen. Accidents do happen, so you have to know the ins and outs of, like, all right, if I do this, this is what's going to happen. This person spazzes out. You got to have that reaction time. Me personally, it sounds weird. I like rolling with everybody. So sparring and rolling with everybody, even during fight camp or during, 2 weeks out or a week out, I will go with white belts and I just let them do what they want to do because that's a fight. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is a white belt when you fight. And that first 5 minutes, that first round, let's say 2.5 minutes, if you're an amateur, that minute and a half, you're a white belt because adrenaline takes over and your brain is not registering what's going on. It's not. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're like, oh, I'm the best in the world. No, there's a reason why, like, Donald Cerrone still freaks out. There's a reason why, Stipe Miocic and all those greats freak out still during fight night because your brain is automatically triggering itself to go into survival mode and it's going to fight mode. And it's like, you do that, and that's what you got to do. Your brain automatically does it. You don't realize it happens because it does happen. So our coach always says, your brain always prepares itself to fight a bear or fight something that's threatening to you. So that's just your hunter brain, and that's been generationally pushed back all those years. And you're just like, okay, I'm about to fight a bear. Rather, you're just fighting another human, but your brain perceives that as like let's go fight a tiger, let's go fight a bear, let's go do this. So therefore, you see these guys like get pumped up and they're flexing and stuff. They don't realize they're doing it, or you see people with the deer in the headlights, like like Costa did against Adesanya. I knew the fight was over whenever Costa walked out, because Costa did not look calm. He did not look anything. His eyes were the size of quarters. Like he was like bug out. He's like, oh God. It's like, yep. I was like, this fight's over. Like this is not going to end. It's not going to end well. And then Izzy just walks out like it's a normal day at the office. So body language is a huge thing when it comes to pre-fights. So you're a white belt and you're going to revert back to it. You're always going to revert back to it. Could you tame that white belt inside of you? You can, but it's hard as sin to do it.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And that's the thing about it. It's like that's what I love about the sport. It's like there's no, when people from the outside, they're like, oh, well, how do I start trading? Or they'll even say, how do I get to the UFC? And I'm like, okay, like, let's kind of dial it back, because again, there's no linear way. I've seen, people with, I mean, there's been people this kind of like not on Fight Island, but at Apex, that have lopsided records, more losses than wins, but because they've, it's a short notice fight, whatever, they put them on, or you could be have wins in the double digits, losses in maybe like 2 or 3, and still not get the call. Like there's no linear path, right? But when you get to a place of kind of synergy and harmonious, where you kind of know your abilities, right? You know your abilities. You've got a good coaching structure. Your family life is good. Yeah, like you're working with it. Like it's a very fine line, And I often say, it's weird because like as you mature, your skill set and your knowledge of the game gets a little bit better. I mean, more than a little bit better, right? But then your body starts breaking down. So, to me, the greats are kind of the ones that kind of, meet it, because you've got like, you've got knowledge here, and then you've got your body and what it can do. And if you can get it to like closer and closer to like harmony, that's when you start to see greatness. But I mean, you're only going to get that for maybe, a year and a half's time, where people are in their prime, and chances are that's only 3 fights, realistically, if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky. But you got to train your brain and you got to train your body to be, like you said, as one. And hell, you have an expiration date, but you can make your expiration date go as long as you need it to go because of how you train. If you train smartly, you can fight a long time. You can do whatever you want to do. There's seasoned vet. I mean, hell, Fedor is still fighting, and Fedor's damn near 50. And he's still doing the same stuff, but, he's fighting a little bit, not cautiously, but he's fighting as like, okay, I've been here before. I know how to conduct this. That's just how it goes sometimes. So.
Yeah, you mentioned Fedor, and it's like, no, like he's still alive after that Randomman slam in Pride. Like that's real life. Like that was like 20 years ago, crazy enough. But I mean, he's still alive and kicking, let alone fighting, and his brother Alexander is a literal madman. I think he's in prison, right?
Yeah.
All of those things. Yeah. And all of those things, and Fedor is still fighting.
Yeah. It just shows it. It just shows how you can learn all the skills. You can learn every technique. You can do whatever you want to do to make yourself a complete fighter. But if your brain is shit, you're a shit fighter. That's just honest to God truth. So if you cannot figure out how to solve a problem the right way, then you are going to have a horrible career. Like Diego Sanchez. Diego Sanchez came out. He was a stupidly good fighter, like very promising fighter. He got punch drunk. He decided he was going to knock people out. That was dumb. Now he's on the out. So now he's like, oh, I just want to fight just to fight. That's somebody who they can't change. They won't change. You got to learn how to change. It's just how it is.
Yeah, that Diego one, it scared me. And I was hoping that he wouldn't lose, but I wanted actually, and this is no disrespect to Diego, huge fan of his. But the thing about it is, I wanted it to be like, I mean, him going out in a submission, him getting knocked out, or whatever, because it's a mercy kill. I wanted it to essentially be no shadow of a doubt that he doesn't belong in this current era of UFC fighters, and it wouldn't. It's not going to be good on him because again, there's got to come a day where he hangs it up, right? Is he going to be a vegetable? Is he going to drink out of straws? Like I really, and especially with the coach Josh Fabia, that's a head case too, and that I even wonder more about because Diego, you can go like, okay, CTE, blah blah blah, whatever, whatever, right? Fabia, as best of my knowledge, hasn't fought. And he's kind
Mm-hmm.
of same there. He's like he's CTE without the head trauma, and him getting into like Matt Serra's face in Abu Dhabi. I'm like, you don't know what hell, like literally. I mean, Matt Serra puts dudes out at lunch over breakfast. He's choking people out. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
Like this cannot go well, So
No.
it's just like man, I can't. But that's why it makes those kind of things like the Diegos and the BJ Penns and there's a litany of others, right? Chuck and Tito, right? If they, I love that you kind of use them as kind of a like a rubric,
Mm-hmm.
because if they with the names that they've built upon, right? Through their fight career, they can't make it outside. They can't transition out of fighting. What what good is it? Anything else that anybody else ever does? I mean, Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell still wanting to fight in the last like 5 years. Like, what are we
Mm-hmm.
doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, you got to learn to hang it up. It's like you got to look at yourself, and that's the problem with fighters, man. You if that's the only life you know, that's all the life you know. It's like you can't just be like, oh well, maybe I could go do accounting. No, you don't have the numbers for accounting. You're a fighter. You either got to be a coach and a teacher, or you just got to hang it up and be that dude at the bar and be like, oh man, I love those days back. That's the only two options you have. Cause ain't no fighter gonna sit still. I guarantee it. Ain't no fighter sitting still. And, Rich Franklin's not been fighting forever, but have you seen pictures of him? Dude is working out. He is jacked. Like he is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with most fighters. Most fight. And the people that are like, oh, I can't do MMA no more. They're going over to bare knuckle boxing. Which is just absolutely just stupid. But it is what it is. There'd be no way you catch me in the ring like that. No, 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 God no. That's too much. That's definitely you might as well go ahead and give me CTE right then and there. That doesn't make sense. But whenever you live the lifestyle of a fighter, you have no out. You got to be a coach or you got to be a fighter, and you can't hang it up because it's it's like a dog, right? If you It's a stray dog. A stray dog, it's been beaten, or abused dog. It's been beaten. It's been left alone, and all it knows is to survive. And that's what most people can be referred to as like that beating dog. All you know is fight. All you know is survive. And you can't pull yourself out of it until you can actually be like, okay, all right, I am this type of person. Let's pull this back. So it's hard. It really is. So it's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
No, it absolutely is, and we kind of hope the best because, you know, we've seen the iterations where it doesn't work out so well. So we just hope for the best. And it seems like this generation of fighter, you know, they kind of get it. So I love it. I absolutely love it. But obviously, have inhabited this persona and kind of ideologies, but it didn't come from just you, right? Come from other people that you're around. So again, let's get some shout outs and acknowledgments out of the way. Because obviously, I mean, you are the person that you are because of the community that you were growing up around.
Yeah. So give a shout out to Knoxville Martial Arts Academy. Every teammate that I have, James Adcock, Jason King, list goes on and on and on and on. Like, cause I train with everybody. I don't discriminate who you are. I can learn from everybody. My coach is Eric Turner and Joey Zonar. Eric Turner has done a phenomenal job with how to shape everybody's mental aspect and how to go about solving the problems and stuff like that, and how to make you be your own fighter rather than be these cookie cutter fighters that we see all the time. So he does that. Everybody at FBS Combat, Frankie Padilla and Chloe Padilla, for always keeping me in tip top shape. Especially through this fight camp, it's probably the best I've ever felt. I felt strong. I felt fast. I felt ridiculous. Taylor Turner, who happens to be another pro fighter, who is the wife of Eric, my head coach. She's my nutritionist, so she's helped me do my meal plans and stuff like that. She gave me the most perfect diet I've ever had. I did not feel slow. I did not feel, sluggish when I eat weight cut. I felt great. I was like, every time I had a meal, I was full of energy, positive, all that kind of stuff. Hydrate for and just my family, my significant other, my girlfriend, whatever you want to say, my fiance, Kay Varela. She's been cutting. She does cut with me, so she keeps me positive even when I'm being on edge or being a jerk. She keeps me. Hey, you're going to be able to do this. This is fine. My kids, all three boys. They're boys. Sometimes they're headaches, but they keep me going and keep me ready to go at all times. Even though last week was kind of rough on them because I had to cut weight, but yeah, just really everybody that helps me, my family, my mom, my dad. It's just it's a lot of people that thank Smith Anchoring Clothing for giving me my actual walkout T-shirts that I should have them hopefully today or tomorrow. So yeah, I got new T-shirts. Yeah, so I have to show you one day. So yeah, it's just pretty much everybody who's helped me out throughout this whole thing. That pretty much, yeah, and Valor Fights will always let me come on and showcase my skills from start to finish. So I hope to finish strong and keep staying with you guys and just keep working.
Dang right. And for those who want to know more about the life and times of Dre Miley, where can they find you on social media, my man?
Facebook is Dre Miley. You can do my personal page, or you can go on Dre Coup Miley, which is my athlete page. It's all connected. My Instagram is Dre Miley MMA 135, and my Twitter name is Draku 135 MMA. If you want to use Twitter, I don't really use Twitter, but it is what it is. But yeah, mostly Instagram or Facebook that I'm on.
There it is. There it is. Dude, thank you for coming on and speaking your piece, and I can't wait to January, where that title fight happens. And I mean, you've got a strong mindset. I don't, I'm not one to pick fights, but I mean, I see you coming out of that Val fighting cage as champ.
Appreciate that. Now, it's a lot of mental work going on to this fight, so gotta bring the A game for this one. So
I can't wait. I cannot wait. Again, thank you, Dre, for jumping on with us, and thank you guys for watching it. And if you haven't already done so, you might want to subscribe to According to Woods, but don't take my word for it.
should totally subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe to According to Woods YouTube.